All right, what's up everybody, and welcome back to Sirvalorsax. Today I want to show you how to solo over the boring chord changes. Now, what are the boring chord changes? These are the diatonic chords that are associated mostly with pop music. Jazz players, we generally hate soloing over stuff like this. Sounds very stagnant. You start running out of ideas, and then you do the worst possible thing you can do. You start playing outside. And once you start doing that, you start looking like Marty McFly at the end of Back to the Future when he starts playing the guitar and he's grinding and freaking out. And you get the same exact response from the audience when you do that. So how can we play something that's still inside but still very melodically interesting? This is the most melodically interesting way that I could possibly come up with in order to get people to learn how to improvise. I would consider this to be an intermediate level saxophone player lesson, but a beginner level improviser lesson. We are not going to focus on chords at all. We're just going to focus not just on scales, we're going to focus on a very specific scale. I've named this the Sirvalorsax scale. All it really is a chromatic scale. But a chromatic scale out of context is very boring. There's no real information. There's no context as to how it fits. So what we're going to do, we're going to use this Sirvalorsax scale in context of major, your Ionian, and natural minor. These are the two modes that you mostly find in pop music. So that way when you run into some song, it's got some really simple 4-bar chord progression or some really simple type of diatonic chord progression, you can use this scale and have something much more melodically interesting. All right, let's get to it. So I said this Sirvalorsax scale is a type of chromatic scale. But the way we learn this and the way we play this is going to be fundamentally different from the way we've learned all the other scales. This scale is specifically designed to create melodic interest. So we're going to learn this scale with little snippets of things that are melodically interesting. So I'm going to do this in concert F. Let me grab my flute and then I'll grab my tenor after that. In the key of F major or in the key of D minor. Remember, that's D natural minor. But first, let's take a look at this in the key of F major. I want to be able to fit every note in the chromatic scale into this scale in some way that not just melodically makes sense, but actually reinforces F major. One of the first scales that we learn when we're learning jazz and when we're learning improvisation is a bebop scale. This is an added note or a wrong note that's added between the natural fifth and the sixth. Sounds like this. We're going to add every note of the chromatic scale to that scale and make it make melodic sense, and it's going to reinforce the sound of major. So I would play something that sounds like this. I'm going to treat every note that is not in this scale like it is a leading tone. The leading tone is the major third of the dominant scale. That leading tone always wants to resolve upwards, specifically up a half step. So every time I play one of these notes that are outside the key of F, the wrong notes, I'm going to use it in such a way where it resolves upward very logically. Remember, I am not thinking about any of the chords at all. I'll play that little phrase again. If I were to do that in D minor, I would play this. D minor is just 1, 2, 3, 4, down a half step. Then I play the same thing that I played. It's beautiful, super melodic. And this works because we are assigning a very specific function to all the wrong notes. The wrong notes. This is how jazz players make all the wrong notes sound right. Now in this lesson, we're keeping it simple. We are only focusing on diatonic chord changes. You learn this in all 12 keys, and you can apply it everywhere on any song. Jazz, whatever, pop, whatever. Okay, so let's go back to that major bebop scale. Let me grab my tenor. I'm going to still do this in F. Whatever F is on your instrument, I'm deliberately just keeping it in F. It's right in the middle, and it's super easy to learn it in this key first. And then once you start getting this under your fingers, you start training your ear to hear wrong notes in the proper context. You start training your ear to hear wrong notes in the proper context. Start simple with major mode, natural minor mode. Let me grab my tenor. So here's the exercise on tenor so far. So if we're thinking in F major, I'm going to start on my A, and I'm going to play the major bebop scale, 1 octave. Now we're going to utilize the flat 7. We're going to utilize the flat 7 in a very symmetrical way that goes like this. So this lick starts on the 3rd, sharp 9, 3rd, regular 9, root, major 7, flat 7, back to the major 7. I'll write that out right here. And then we play the same thing again down a 5th. That part is the trickiest part of this whole thing. From the beginning, sounds like this. So now let's do the sharp 11. I've been saving this one for last because I first want to familiarize you with what you are already familiar with, which is the context in which you've already heard the sharp 11 used in pop culture. So let's see if you recognize these sharp 11 licks. The Simpsons. Maria from West Side Story. The Jetsons. Back to the Future. They use it in a really slick modulation there, but still. John Williams uses the sharp 11 in E.T. the Extraterrestrial better than just about anything I've ever heard. The entire movie is just a study on how to use the sharp 11. He plays a lick that goes like where he goes to the sharp 11 to the 5. And then sharp 5, sharp 9, and then back to the 5. Dope lick. And that pretty much covers all the notes not in the major scale. I've been describing all of this in reference to the major mode, but all of this works over major and minor. It's just easier for me to explain it in the major alterations. But when we get to minor, I want to point out a specific type of equivalent. So in major, the sharp 11 is equivalent to the natural 6 in minor. So the B natural in F is the sharp 11. The B natural in D minor is the major 6. Okay, so I like to play something a little bit different when I'm in major and when I'm in minor. Now keep in mind, this works over both anyway. I just have my preference for doing it this way. And I like that Jetsons lick. It can sound a little too Jetsons-y and it can be like a little joke, but I like to do something more like this. By the time you realize it was the Jetsons, we're already like moved on beyond that. But going down to that major 7, that really sells it. In minor, I like to play something a little bit different. It's a little more complex. It's a lot more interesting. But check this out. Whenever you have some movie that glorifies the bad guy, they always do this one thing. They create an even worse character to make you empathize for the main bad guy character. So that way you can like feel for this person like Tony Soprano or Michael Vito Corleone, whatever. When we do that, musically, I want to introduce a more sinister type of sound instead of having that major 6 against that flat 6. And what we're going to do is use harmonic minor. We're going to use this thing. I'm going to play that straight into the natural 6, which is going to make that natural 6 want to lead up. Because remember, all the wrong notes function like leading tones. And then I go to a diminished. Those are all the notes in the chromatic scale used to reinforce minor or major. Piece of cake. Sirvalorsax merchandise is available, ladies and gentlemen. I got the piece of cake shirt that's out, ladies and gentlemen. I do have the new ones that are out also. I got some women's attire. I got some bucket hats. I got some dad hats that are available. And I got my Sirvalorsax mugs that are also available. Also, I have some links to Amazon for stuff that ain't mine, that I just think is cool. And of course, I have my Altissimo books for alto, tenor. I have my Diminished scales book. It's also got some Altissimo stuff in it. I do have an affiliate link with Woodwind Brasswind if you are interested in picking up a new saxophone or some saxophone products and you don't have hundreds or even thousands of dollars burning a hole in your pocket. Look into financing. There's some really nice financing 0% options that are going on. Woodwind Brasswind is frequently running very nice specials all the time. So feel free to go there, browse around, put some stuff in your cart, and make Sirvalorsax a very happy man. All right, let's do it. Okay, I don't want YouTube to snag this video, so I'm not going to use the official recording, but I did write out the chord changes to this and plug it into Sibelius. So it's going to be 3 songs. It's going to be Pastime Paradise, Stevie Wonder song, you probably know it as Gangsta's Paradise with Coolio. Let's do Smells Like Teen Spirit. And then let's throw a real majory thing in there. Let's do St. Thomas, which is a jazz song. Not entirely diatonic, but diatonic enough to where you'll hear how this works. All right, so let's do it.